Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the Drone Age update, and I thought why not have a look on the dev server at the actual attack drones, or the strike drones, or whatever you want to call them when it comes to the game, because these are, the namesake of the updates at the end of the day, so why not have a look at them and see what's going on with them. Now, I must predicate this because the MQ-1 Predator, which you have here, is the only one that's actually fully modeled. When we get to the other ones, you'll understand what I mean. They basically use a base model of the Jaguar GR1 for some reason, so the only real stuff we can find from them is generally what their armaments are going to be, and also their names, so you can do a little bit more research. But the MQ-1 is here, and it is sorted, and as you can see, it's very similar to what you saw when it came to the dev stream if you watch that. It's got a pretty low maximum speed, it has a pretty short pretty long takeoff run, weirdly enough, and also has access to two Hellfires, the AGM-114Ks. Now, in the modifications, you can actually see the stats for them. They're laser IOGs, they're tandem warheads, 1200, 1600 millimeters. So these things are going to penetrate a lot, and they're going to do a lot of damage. But you only get two of them, so it should be quite easy it should be quite easy to hit stuff with them if you're at good distances, but also at the same time, you're not really going to be doing a ton of damage. They're very much an extra on top of the CAS options that already exist. X-ray mode, you can see that they're actually fully modeled inside, so it's got this radar in the front of it. It's got some little fuel tanks, some self-sealing ones, and of course the spars to make sure the wings aren't floppy, and of course the engine, which is modeled in the back here with this little propeller on it. So the vehicle itself is actually pretty well modeled. I'm really happy with it. Now, understand there are going to be three kind of strike drones or attack drones, or whatever you want to call them, that come to the game. There is going to be this one, which is going to be used by all of the nations apart from China and the USSR. The USSR will have their own independent one, and the Chinese will also have their own independent one. I'm guessing eventually they'll expand these ones, so they'll add more drones into the game, but at the moment those are the three main strike ones which are coming in. Now, as kind of a funny piece of information on these ones, I believe this vehicle will now hold the record for the amount of fuel that it has on board, or the time that it can stay up in the air. On a minimum load, this vehicle can stay in the air for 16 hours and 59 minutes. On a maximum load, it can stay in the air for 2 days, 8 hours and 37 minutes. So if we ever have a game of War Thunder that lasts two days, or is able to last 2 days, I feel like we should attempt going for some kind of record of how long you can stay awake while flying a drone, because I'm pretty sure the drone is going to outlast you, which is pretty interesting. So the vehicle itself, right now, it gets the standard spawn for aircraft, which is 15 kilometers away from the battlefield, and it's going to take you ages to get there, since this thing doesn't really travel very quickly. It also handles not very well, like it's very reliant on its elevator. It doesn't have a rudder really, as you can see, as I'm trying to push it here and it just doesn't want to go. And then also the ailerons are quite decent, like they turn okay. Doesn't have any flaps. This one does actually have wheels though, so the idea is you fire your two missiles and then you go land at an airfield to rearm, but obviously nobody's going to do that because it's just going to take way too much time. So the vehicle itself, even though it's kind of interesting, I feel like it's going to be severely limited compared to other stuff that we actually have when it comes to the game. You can see here that you have the laser designator as well that you can use with the Hellfire. I'm not sure if there's a lock option, at least right now my lock option isn't working on it, unfortunately, so there probably is something that you can do to lock a target, but my controls when it comes to the plane side of things are very different to my helicopter one, so I'm probably just kind of screwing it up. But all it is basically just a drone which has access to two missiles, two Hellfires, and will be able to donk two targets, and then it will just have to leave the battle area and then go back home. It has a very good zoom, as you can see on it. incredibly good zoom. By the way, this thing will not reload in the air. You'll have to go back to the airfield to load it back in. So if you want to actually rearm it, if that's a possible thing. You can kind of see the drones down there as well. So we can get kind of a little close-up to see how big that they are. I could maybe put them next to this vehicle over here, actually. Going a little bit fast in it. They've also done a really nice noise for the drone as well. Obviously just like a little propeller noise. But when you launch the recon drones, they make like this catapult sound, which sounds fantastic. So I'm really happy to kind of hear that sound when going in. But these ones, or these drones, I feel like are probably not going to be used that much, but they give an additional option to people who kind of want to be able to do CAS, but maybe haven't ground out the aviation tree in time, or haven't grounded out enough to be able to actually get up to the higher echelons where these drones are going to be available, since these are going to be available at much higher BRs than what you may be generally used to. You can see there's a little bit of an FPS issue when it goes in and it does crash land, even though we haven't taken any damage. But you can kind of see the difference between it and a ZSU-37 here, how it's way bigger than the ZSU-37. I don't think I'm going to be able to take off here. I think we're going to lose a wing yet. But that's the American drone, the one which most nations are going to be using. So now it's time to have a look at some of the different ones. You can do that if you want, and then kind of set it up and then just put it here and then move around the place, and it will just kind of lock itself in and fly into the area that you've marked. That also is pretty useful on it, so you can kind of mark a target and then start maneuvering as long as the camera stays in. But let's have a look at the other two. So as I said before, when it comes to the other strike drones, they aren't actually in the game yet in their full model. Hopefully they'll be here on the second dev server, but you can see the Jaguar GR1 is used as the placeholder for them. And what we can see from the Jaguar GR1 is the fact that the Soviet one, the Orion as it's called, the UCAV Orion, will have access to attacker missiles. So these pen 800, 693, 400, they got a firing range of 6 kilometers, and they're also beam riding with a tandem warhead. So the same as the attackers that we see on helicopters. Generally, these won't be as strong as the American one, but at the same time, if it can carry more of them, it can carry 4, then that obviously will be pretty nice. And we can see 4 in the picture here. So you get more weaponry, but they're not as good. It might also just mean that it has 2 missiles instead of 4, and it's just how it's modeled on this version. And this right now is what the Wing Long looks like, the Wing Long 1 specifically. So this is going to be the Chinese strike drone, and it's got access to these missiles, and obviously not a Jaguar GR1A. The missiles it uses are the BA-9s, so these are the Blue Arrow 9s. Laser IOG, and then also they have a tandem heat on it, 6 kilometer range, and also 800, 693mm, 400mm penetration. So pretty much these ones are a mixture of the Hellfire, because it has the same way of guidance, but it has the statistics of the Soviet missile that we saw on the other drone. So hopefully these drones will be in the game in a future thing, so we can have a look at them a bit more proper, but I'm hoping this gives you a little bit of an idea of how useful these things will be going forward. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman675, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Jerry Prevolt, Megadino King, Orange Tail, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Uncle Bean, Sem Arslan, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.